So, Neil, we've had a full week of training. Before we get into that, what were your final reflections on last weekend's game?
Yeah, having watched it back, I thought first half some of the stuff we played was very, very good. Second half, we knew that the top three team at home were going to come at us a bit more, and they did. But again, the goal comes from a second phase long range shot and a rebound, and the only other chance they really had was from a long range shot or a long ball and a flick on. And other than that, we kept them quite quiet. So very impressed at the end of a 5-game, 2-week schedule that we put in a high level of performance. So yeah, you try and take a deep breath and take a little bit of a breather, but you've got to get back on that horse and go again very quickly.
You mentioned you gave the players Monday off as a bit of recovery. You've had a full week. We didn't have any travelling today, so the players were trained today. How's the week been for you?
The week's been good, as in the quality of training has been very, very good. I think we've had a little bit of illness in the camp, including the physio, which is never good. So we've had to keep him away at times. There's been a bit of illness, and there's been a few niggles from obviously Matt Ward had to come off, and a few bits and bobs. I do think sometimes when you have this glut of games, sometimes you get through the games and you're fine, and it's the following week you start to pick up one or two things, which we have.
You mentioned there on the injury front. Is there any update on players that are potentially returning, and also an update of maybe some players that have
Yeah,
recovering from injury?
yeah, we've got. I mean, Junior is cup tied anyway. Junior Maresa, he's injured obviously with his calf. Wardy, as we know, his ankle. We've had it scanned. The initial prognosis of the scan is better than we thought. So he's not going to be back for Saturday, and he's probably not going to be back for next week. But the prognosis is that we can get some work into him, he might be back the following week. So that's better than we hoped, without trying to put an actual date on it. And we've picked up one or two niggles along the way. Like I said, a little bit of illness. So, we are a little bit light going into the game when you consider that Chin's cup tied and Junior's cup tied and Tariq's suspended. Once you start adding a few extra players in like that, it does, alongside the injuries, it does leave you a little bit light. But on the flip side, Mossy's getting his minutes up. We still need to load him a little bit. Dion obviously played last week, which was great, and come through it. Jermaine Anderson's got back on the training field this week after doing quite a bit of work. So, although he's probably not quite match fit, he's back into contention after training. So all of these things are positives.
And tomorrow we head to Oxford City for the quarterfinal of the FA Trophy. What can we expect from them as an opposition?
It's really weird. I've got a lot of time for what Justin Merritt, who sort of oversees Oxford's done a fantastic job. The manager left in the summer, went to Bournemouth Woods, come back again. I think they've had a tough season. I think it's tough for them to be in the National League North, I've got to be honest. And they've got some really good players. Obviously in particular, I've come up against a few. I've got Parker up top. I know he came back. He was on the bench on midweek, but Josh Ashby and McEachran, they're very good players, played against them. And I go through their team and I kind of go, yeah, played against him. He's not bad. He's decent. So I'm kind of surprised at where they are in the league. They've had a couple of tough games, but good performances against Scunthorpe and Chester at the top of the league. The pitch is good. I think since they've had the 3G done, it's a much better 3G, so there shouldn't be any complaints on that. And it's a cup final in many ways for them and us. We're when you look at our seasons, both teams want to stay up and get to the magic 50-point mark, whatever it takes. And then on top of that, how does a successful season look? Well, it ends at Wembley. So in many ways, it's both of our cup finals.
And it looks like we should have another good away following tomorrow. So looking ahead to the game, what would be your message to our travelling fans?
It's cup game. I think they just add that little extra bit on it, knowing that you're knocked out or you're going through. So if they can make the noise that they have done lately, it will give us the lift we need to try and get ourselves into that semi-final and keep the dream going. And that's what it's all about at the moment. We're 2 games away. We've got to take it one game at a time and try and keep it going. And if they make it a cup atmosphere and the Oxford City fans do the same, then I'm sure it'll be a good old ding dong tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thanks, Neil. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers. Thanks.